All right, all right. Good morning. Good morning. You are live with your host, Coach Jeff Smith with Love Game 24/7. Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready? Well, I hope so. So I appreciate any of you guys out there that's joining the show live or you're watching the recording. Be sure that you click on that subscribe button on the YouTube in your left. Be sure you follow. Be sure you like. Be sure you share. Same thing goes for um, I'm on my Facebook Live and IG Live right now as well. So be sure you follow Love the Game 24_7. Be sure you follow me there or Coach Smith 27. You can follow me, but definitely follow me at Love the Game 24_7 on IG and Love the Game 24/7 on YouTube. Um, and definitely you can follow me on Facebook as well. You can follow me on Twitter. Um, and so I appreciate you guys getting the information out there about Coach Smith and Love the Game 24/7 and the information um, that is being shared to help you parents and young athletes on how to get recruited for your sport, whether you're male or female, and no matter what sport. Even though I reference a lot about football and basketball, it still pertains to you male or female athletes and whatever sport you play. It all fits. Doesn't matter. Recruiting is recruiting, as I've always shared. Um, and there's a couple of things we're going to talk about um, today, but the main thing I want to talk about is your reputation. Your reputation. That is the title of this podcast this morning. I'm usually live on Wednesday evenings and at 6:30 p.m. and Saturday mornings at 11:30ish a.m. I haven't been on because I've been dealing with a few things that I'll share later in the future. Um, but I'm also working on some new format with some interviews that'll be coming up with some very important people that will talk about uh, their experience with recruiting, their knowledge of what they went through personally and what they see going on in today's recruiting world and sports. So you're definitely going to get a lot of information um, to help you parents, to help you young athletes. There are a lot of great people out there giving some information, great information. Um, but as I've shared, there's not many people that's going to give you information that is coming from an athletic perspective personally that I've went through myself. Had kids that have gone through it, and a son, as I've shared, that play college sports and playing pro football at the moment. So I'm giving you that experience as well as my 25 years experience in working in financial aid on for the State Department of Education for the state of Florida. I worked at the state university level, community college level, private school level, currently at the state level um, in financial aid. So I'm bringing that information as well to talk to you in general. And so it can even help those of you who may not be pursuing sports, um, but just information about college and how to prepare because of the cost of education. So I'm bringing you a lot of great information that I don't think a lot of people are bringing. So I'm hitting mainly from a sports perspective because I love the game 24/7, as I've always shared. But today we're going to be talking about your reputation as an athlete, as a young athlete, right? Is your reputation your stamp of approval or disapproval? Okay, that's important. So we're going to hit on that today. But also, I'm going to share at the end of why I should be having more followers, right? Because you guys should be getting this information out there more to other people, and it shouldn't be any reason why my following shouldn't be bigger than what it is. Um, because I know I'm giving some very, very good information about scholarships for the athlete as well as the general student who desires to go to college, and also help parents understand how to prepare yourself better in financing your young athlete or your young student's college education, right? And one of the best ways to do it is through athletics or some sort of gift or talent that your young person has, and how this needs to start early. The development needs to start early, and there's some things that you need to do that I wish I would have known when I was growing up that my parents didn't have knowledge of. And as my mom became an instant single mother after her father passing away from cancer, um, you know, then it made things even tougher. But still, if you have a desire, if you have a love for something, there's no excuses. No matter how tough your situation is, you just need to get out there and put some work and some effort um, to it, and be mindful of your reputation, uh, right? Uh, and how you represent yourself. So, so it's your representation of you, right? Your representation, right? Or your reputation, however you want to put it. You know, how you represent yourself to people, to others. It's very important. So we're gonna get on that. But like I said, be sure you like and follow and subscribe, do all those great things. Get this information out to those you care about and love, who you know that's a young athlete or a parent, whether it be a single mom, single dad, or not. Because I know there's a lot of people out there who kids are getting into sports, and you as a parent didn't play for whatever reason. You may not have played, or you may not have had the opportunity because of lack of information, or lack of someone directing you or helping you or coaching you about the recruiting process. So there's a lot of people out there today who um, either didn't take advantage, or didn't know how to take advantage, didn't play, but because, hey, you have a young person, you have a child, niece, nephew, a grandchild that is very athletic, and loves their sport, and you see something in them, and they see something in themselves, and you need somebody to help coach you through it, because there's a lot of people I know right now from my own personal experience of lack of knowing, and my mom not knowing anything, okay, and me not knowing some things, but learning later, where I probably could have gone down I won't necessarily say easier road, but at least would have been more informed and better prepared on how to deal with some tough things I had to deal with. And I'll get into that more as we discuss about your representation of you as a young athlete, or your reputation. Is it are you creating your representation or your reputation as your stamp of approval or disapproval? Because we got all this stuff going on that we're talking about why all these kids are in the transfer portal. We're talking about NIL, they're chasing the bag and all these different things. Yes, some of that stuff is true, no doubt. Yes, there are some reasons as to why they shouldn't be doing chasing the bag in a certain way, or why they should possibly do that, or why they do need to be in the transfer portal and leaving the situation. Or sometimes you might need to not necessarily be in the transfer portal, and you need to man up or woman up, and stay where you are and work through it. There's so everybody's situation is different. Everybody has a different reason, right? So we can't always be so quick to want to pass judgment on someone as to why they did or didn't transfer, right? But more importantly, more than anything, what we have to look at more than anything, not judge, but as a parent and as a young athlete, is how well am I representing myself when I do make my decision to stay and not go in the transfer portal, or put myself in the transfer portal, or use the NIL, right? My back getting a bag, okay, as my reason for why I chose a school or didn't choose a school. Appreciate you, Joe, joining me, brother. As always, appreciate your support, man. Um, Love you for that, my man. Joe was always here supporting, and just like many of you should be. But I know the information that I'm giving, right? And sometimes people always want something for free, and that's cool. And there's some things that you should get for free. But when you need to dive into some more detailed, more specific help for your young person, or for you parents, because I'm not just wanting to coach your young athlete about the recruiting process, but parents, you need some coaching on the recruiting process and how you should, uh, give you some guidance. I never tell somebody what to do, but I'll give you some guidance and tell you what you should be thinking about and what you should be considering before you tell your young person, what they should or shouldn't do, right? Because I do believe there are some times that you do need to tell your young athlete, no, this is how we're going to do it, right? But and this is why, okay? And give them something to think about, okay? And or yes, son or daughter, yeah, I agree with you. We need to take this. We need to take this route, right? Like you feel you should, right? But we need to do everything we can and gather information and talking to coaches or people, okay, to or teammates or other parents, right? It needs to be some sort of shared communication, man. Everybody got to stop. You got to stop being about just your kid. Um, it's all about how can we, you know, help make this a better situation so that others don't have to deal with or go through um, what we're, you know, what we've had to go through, right? And so, um, and as I share, this about your reputation or your representation, how you're representing yourself, right, is has a lot to do with why you may be going through some of the things that you're going through or dealing with some of the things you're dealing with. Okay. Um, so you got to understand that you got to be very careful about how you are representing yourself and making yourself look, young athlete and parents. Okay. Um, because there's a lot of pain or stress or issues that can be avoided if there were some better choices or better decisions made if you would have gotten some guidance or some coaching through like what we're doing here on this podcast with Coach Smith and Love the Game 24/7. A lot of stuff could have been avoided. You didn't really have to go through, right? There's some things that I believe there's some perseverance and some adversity that some people do need to deal with to help make them stronger and better and help make them wiser, right? But it's always good to get wisdom from other people who've been there, people who have walked through it, not people who are giving you theory, um, but people who knows what they're talking about from experience. And I went through it because, like I said, I lost my father. It wasn't something on purpose. It was just, hey, that's what this situation was, right? My mom worked at a community college. If I wanted to get a free education, due to my mother working at the community college, I had a very good job as a administrative assistant for the vice president and then for the president at the college back home in Florida in St. Pete. It allowed me that if I wanted to, didn't play sports, but if I wanted to go get an education, as long as I would have made uh, uh, a grade C or better at the community college where my mother worked, I would have gotten a free 2-year education, no problem, right? That would have been a great opportunity because my mother had a job where the community college paid for her if she wanted to get further educated or for her family or kids wanting to get educated. So it wouldn't have been a bad decision if I would have decided, hey, I'm not playing sports or pursuing sports and would have gotten my education at St. Pete College. That wouldn't have been a you know, bad thing to have done or decided to do, right? So that's not necessarily um, a bad decision. But was it the best decision for me? No, it wasn't the best decision for me because I love playing sports. And because we don't have junior college football in Florida, which is still kind of surprising to me today with all the talent that we have in that state. Most kids in our state of Florida, if they don't get a chance to go Division 1 or Division 2, or because there's some issues with grades coming out of high school, because once again, you didn't have somebody to help coach you or give you knowledge or to help share with you about how you need to stay on top of your young athlete to be sure they get educated or find those resources to help give you some help at an early age to get your young person on the right path with their academics because yeah, they put that effort into the sports, but if you take that same energy for the sport and put it in your athletics, nobody's saying you have to make A's and B's, but there's no reason why you should be making D's or F's if you put some of that same energy and effort that you put into your sport and say, hey, I got to put some of that same energy into my academics to ensure because the rules are if I'm going to get a scholarship to give myself an opportunity to play my sport, right? And I want to go somewhere where I would like to go and give myself some choices, which a lot of kids are doing, but there's a lot of kids who still miss out or have to delay their opportunity of going Division 1 or getting a scholarship at all in their sport due to their academics. And I see a lot of it with young boys more so than I see with the young ladies. Um, for whatever reason, in my 25 years, I've seen more of the young boys struggling with their academics than I do the young ladies, right? Usually it's the opposite end where the young ladies may struggle in their sport or being dedicated to their sport in comparison to how dedicated some of the boys are. They are on point with their academics in a lot of instances, right? And I do see some young men I would say I've seen some improvements, but we still have some young boys struggling, right? And we do still have some young ladies realizing that, man, instead of putting that pressure on your mom paying for your education, even though you got great academics, but they only got so much money, they don't give out too many full scholarships for academics, right? They don't give out full scholarships for academics like they do for sports. So that should tell you something, right? Because there's a lot of money coming in, right, with college athletics, more so than somebody being a great academic student. But now, don't get me wrong, you definitely should pursue that at all times, always. But I'm just letting you know, as somebody who works or who is working or worked 25 years in higher education, they're not giving out merit academic scholarships, full scholarships like they do for sports. Okay, for most sports, like when it comes to football or basketball, or they do give out some full scholarship for baseball and softball, but not many. But they do give some, but they at least give you like 75 to 80 to 25% range, right? And so if you are a good student in your academics and as an athlete, then you can make up some of that money that you didn't get in athletic scholarship with some merit scholarship. So it's always good to keep that academic side strong, right? Because that's part of when your coach is recruiting you at some of these other sports, other than football and basketball, they don't give out as many full scholarships in their sport. They're going to look at how strong your academics are, so they can get you some merit scholarship money. And let's just be honest, if you are an athlete with good academics, you're going to have more of a chance of getting that merit scholarship money than a student who's not an athlete. That's just reality. Okay. No matter how you feel about it, um, sports brings in money into the college. Um, Not saying that people who don't play sports not bringing in money, of course, because you're paying. Sometimes your parents are paying out of their pocket. However, when you're looking at somebody who plays sports, especially when it comes to football and basketball, um, there's money being made with ticket sales, right? Nobody's buying a ticket to come sit down and watch somebody, in a classroom, right? But somebody is paying for a ticket to come see basketball, right? Baseball, softball, football, right? Lacrosse, right? They're if they're not buying a ticket so much, they are buying food, they are buying gear and material. So that's where you have to understand the business of college athletics. Okay, and this is why if you do have a young person that has a young girl or young boy that has an ability in a sport or a band, that's another good one. They do give out some good scholarships for band. And if you are an elite musician or a top musician, and when you audition, because you got to put in work, you got to love that game of band and put in work, because you can possibly get yourself a full scholarship in band, right? Um, However, if you don't, they give out maybe a good decent amount of scholarship. But if you are a good student, they're going to give you some merit academic money. So we always want to do everything we can to keep those academics strong. Okay, whether you're just a student or an athlete, right? So you got to be sure to do whatever you can. And if you get some guidance, if you start getting that early um, coaching for your young person, when it's obvious that you see that they may have a focus issue or they may have a comprehension issue, we got to start early. So just like you are focused on getting your kid at these summer camps and helping them get developed, you got to do some of that same thing. They should be in some sort of camp. Like my wife would find my kids some science camps, some reading camps. So it wasn't just all sports with my kids. There were different things, arts, music. Our kids did in the summer to keep their mind developing and growing, because they're out of school for a summer, but you don't want them to ever stop learning or desiring to learn. Okay. So even if you have an athlete, don't just do everything in sports. So here, folks, I'm dropping diamonds on you all, just telling you. Okay. I'm giving you some guidance. I'm giving you some free information. Right. And as I said, one of the other topics I'm going to talk about at the end of this is, I know I should have a lot more followers, because it's being an educator, being someone who's in higher ed and financial aid, and your financial aid is tied into your academics, right? So I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm giving you personal experience from as a former player myself at every level, and a coach at little league and high school level, and having a young person, my child, both my boys, one being an athlete, and being a student athlete, and the other one being just a student who had strong academics and got merit scholarship money. And because I worked at a local private institution back in Florida, and because of my years of service, I was able to get a huge break on tuition and fees. Um, I was always thinking about, okay, I'm not doing a 529 plan when I know what I know. I don't have to come out thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars for my children's education if I focus on what I can do, which I took certain jobs where I could get free tuition for my kids if both of them decided not to play sports. But because I had that one that wanted to play sports, I made sure, as I'm going to tell you guys, on how um, you need to help build your young person's representation or reputation so that it's a stamp of approval and not disapproval. Okay, so you have to take them to these camps, early at an early age. Okay. Same thing with their education. You got to take them to some educational camps in the summer to be sure you're doing all you can to make sure they have what they need academically as well as growing as a person. Okay. So it just can't be all sports camps. It got to be all some other things as well, whether it be through your church or anything of that nature, through your school, whatever. Find those things and get your young people in there. Okay. But I know there's been talk that I've seen because right, we're getting ready to end the school year and go into summer, and you're getting ready to have your young person go to these different camps for their sports at different colleges. And I think it's best to take your young person, maybe especially if they're in middle school age, to maybe one or two camps that's like for maybe 3 or 4 days. That's what I did with my oldest son, because I saw he had a love for wanting to play sports and get a scholarship. So it's good to take them maybe to one or two summer camps. If you want to do more, that's up to you. But like I said, you want to give them time to get to some like some other camps to help build their representation or their representation. Help build them as a person, right? Because like I said, I shared about how some of these kids are making decisions on why they're getting in the transfer portal and why they're making some decisions through NIL as to where they're going. We'll talk about that. But as I'm saying, if we want to help develop our young person to get them prepared, so when they get to the high school level, to get some of these options that you're hoping that they get, you got to start at a young age, get them in the summer camps in their sport, maybe 2 or 3 for like 3 or 4 days, right? Let them get some hard coaching, whatever sport, whether it's a girl or boy, let them get some hard, tough coaching in their sport. I don't care what sport it is, but have it for like let them do the 3 or 4 day camps when they're younger, right? You do 1 or 2 day camps when they start getting in ninth and 10th grade and 11th grade, right? You don't need to do, you know, I mean, it's up to you, but I don't think it's necessary to do 2 or 3 day camps unless you're going to do like I did with my son because he got offered by you know by BC when he was in a junior. So I had him do a 3 or 4 day camp with them longer because that's who offered him first, right? Because you got to understand how to play this game. You want to if you're going to spend time at 2 or 3 days when they're older in high school and they're trying to make a decision, you might do 2 or 3 day camps to some of those schools who offered your student. You can't do all of them, right? That get very expensive, right? Traveling around because I know I've been there. But like I said, you want to show love to those schools who are showing you love and to those ones that you really feel strongly about attending or wanting to attend there. So that's where you go to your 2 or 3 day camps if you're older with those schools who have seriously given you an offer, right? Who are seriously standing on business about their offer to you, right? Because there's some coaches that give you an offer and they are not really as in communication with you much. Doesn't mean they don't love you. You got to try to figure out what your relationship is with that recruiter, right? But there are some who give you offers, and those coaches are on you. They're on your student. They're keeping in contact with you regularly, okay? And so that's how you determine on, some of these things. So I ain't gonna give it all away because you need to join Love the Game 24/7, um, uh, and be a part of having some more detailed individual time. Okay. So I don't mind giving some things away free, but I put a lot of work and time and energy in building this and helping put a platform together to help walk and coach people. So if you want my coaching, you got to join Love the Game 24/7. And you can always get more information about how to do that at love the 24/7 game at gmail.com by sending me an email. You can also give Coach Smith a call as well, and reach out to me through IG, love the game 24_7. You can DM me. And for those who are serious, you can DM me or email me, and I give out my number, and we can talk about how you can join and partner with Love the Game 24/7 and get some more specific detailed help for your young person, your young girl, your young son, athlete, right? But we got to help. Some people wonder, like, oh, why my kid, you know, is in the back of the line, why they don't seem to be aggressive about getting themselves some reps, because it's all about, when you go to these camps, being seen, not being in the back of the line. And I think because I took my son when he was in middle school at a young age to UF football camp, and then I think in that next year I took him down to Miami um, for like 2 or 3 days down at the University of Miami camp. And because of doing that when he was younger, and I took him and some of his friends down with me, some guys, that I coached at the high school, I took some of them when they were young because I wanted to get them exposed and also help them see that you're just as good, if not better, right? And we're not talking about people's personalities. We're talking about people's skill set in their sport. So I took them down there so that they can see. I wanted you to go down to Miami, right, and play and match up against some of those kids and see that you're just as good, if not better. That was the whole point. Okay. And that helped my son and some of those other teammates of his recognize. So as they matriculated and as they developed and got moved up to varsity football, they were ready to play, and they did. And a lot of that has to do with getting them young in middle school. Because see, when they're young in middle school, my oldest son was a little shy. He sat back. You know, I was also helping at the camp at Florida, and I had to keep my eyes on him and watch him, and had to encourage him, and we would have conversations at night in the hotel that gave us time to talk. And I'm saying, okay, what are you, what's your feeling, what's your thoughts? Explain to him, hey, you got to stop sitting in the back of the line. You got to get up there and fight for reps. You see some of these other kids, you know they're going up there multiple times and you only going maybe once or twice. No, you got to fight your way through. You got to understand how this works. You have to be seen. You can't sit back. I know you're a little shy, but I'm doing this to help you get out your shell. Okay. Learn, I know he was just as good and talented, but he needed to get out of his shell. So by the time he became in his ninth and 10th grade, 11th grade year, when he went to these camps, you know, he wasn't sitting back. He wasn't sitting back watching, he had that confidence in his ability more because I started out at a young age. So that's why I'm telling you, you got to start out at a young age, getting your young person in these camps so they can work through some of that confidence that they have. Also, helping them learn how to build their reputation, right? Sometimes they need to see some kids at their age, some of their peers at their age, on how they are aggressive and not in a negative way, but aggressive and wanting to be sure that they get reps. And you got to take some of that same mentality that some of these other kids who know how to do that, right? Learn from watching others. And so that was why it was important to get him in these summer camps. Same thing with the academics. Get him in the summer camps around some kids that are just as smart, if not smarter than them, so that they can see what good study habits are like, right? What they can see how to um, you know, that they got it. They can do better with their academics. Okay, so it's just as important in getting in those camps that's going to help them, flourish in their academics. And like I said, nobody said you have to make all A's and B's. We got to stop putting pressure on them. Some kids who fought to get that C, who really had to study to get that C, probably knows just as much, if not more, than a kid who got an easy A that didn't have to work as hard because they just remembered the steps, but they really couldn't explain to you. I remember having a math teacher, Mr. Osher. Shout out to Mr. Osher from Lakewood High School, my math teacher. And I remember him telling me when I was, would go to him for tutoring, and he was just saying, I want you to understand, Jeff, that I know, he told me, it's just like, hey, you students who fought to get this B or C in my class, you probably can explain it to me better about how you got uh, through that formula on that test or that math problem better than my student who got an A, because he told us. I mean, I remember him flat out telling me, some of my kids are getting A's. They're just good at remembering the steps, but they really couldn't explain it. They really couldn't explain to me um, how they got it because it was just easy, to them. Some of them could, of course. Some of those A students could explain and break things down, but it just gave me confidence for a math teacher, for an adult, to tell me, hey, don't get discouraged about this B or C that you got in this algebra class or this geometry, right? Because I know you fought to get that B in my class or that C, even though you got extra help. And when I asked you to explain it to me, you were able to explain it to me very clearly, or you were able to explain to me very clearly why you got something wrong and where your misstep was, and you corrected that mistake. And I appreciated that, you know. And so to get on from on the camps about how, that's part of how you need to develop your young person to make sure they have a good reputation or represent themselves well, because you do things like this and get them around their peers so that they can get an idea of what they should be working towards and what they shouldn't be, some things they shouldn't be doing, some things, whether it be sports camps, whether it be camps where they help them with their reading and all these different things, and help encourage them that, hey, even though you may not have it all together right now, but we're going to do these things every summer to help you get better and better. So by the time it's for you to get a scholarship, your confidence level in your sport is high, young lady, young boy, young man, and your confidence level is high in the classroom, and your behavior level is high, right? So that's why we got to start young, parents. Okay, and if some of you all don't know, you know, I know we used to have this saying back in the '80s when I was growing up. If you don't know, you better ask somebody, right? And then Biggie Smalls came along and said, "If you know, now you know." Okay. So this is what Love the Game 24/7 is all about. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. I know there's a lot of parents out there who didn't get opportunity to play sports, but now you have a young daughter or a young son that has the opportunity. So you need to get on board with Love the Game 24/7. And I know Derek Tatum is a good coach, with elite talent football, former college and pro player. I listen and follow him. I listen to my buddy at Before You Go Pro. He's another good resource out west. There's a lot of us out there, but Coach Smith is bringing it to you from someone who works in higher ed for 25 years. Parents can use these opportunities to get them scholarships, and you have to start early. Right now, middle school for scholarships. Fastweb.com is a great website. That's www.fastweb.com. It's a legitimate scholarship search engine. So that's not just for um, that's for all students. So parents, you need to use that fastweb.com site right now for your child in middle school to start pursuing scholarships before they get to college to help supplement your child's education, right? But that's how Coach Smith comes. I'm bringing to you guys some great information because I've done this for 25 years in higher ed and financial aid, and education is not cheap, right? And as I said earlier, they're not giving out full merit scholarships like they give out athletic scholarships, or maybe band. So if you have a child that is talented, start honing their skills now while they're in middle school. Okay, you really got to pick up the pace. And if you need some coaching, then you get with Love the Game 24/7. And we can get some personal coaching from Coach Smith for you as a parent and for your young athlete, male or female, and for whatever sport. But it's important that you start doing these things for your young person at middle school age to help them understand what it means about building a great uh, reputation, how to better represent themselves. Because as I said, now that matriculates a move to where we are now in NCAA athletics, now that we have NIL and we have student athletes have more control of where they want to transfer to in the transfer portal. And there's a lot of legitimate reasons, right? But if you didn't get what I just spoke of previously about coaching and getting some help when your young person was at that middle school age, and now you're in high school, it's not too late, but there's a lot of work and catch up that you need to do so that you can avoid some unnecessary frustration and pain, okay? And helping your young person and you as a parent understand how this recruiting game, right? I call it a game because yes, it is a game. There's a strategy to it. There's some things that you need to learn, right? And I just heard Coach Derek Tatum this morning on a post he shared, I think yesterday or early this morning. How some parents get caught up, talking about what other people kids are doing or not doing, or coaches, um, being political, too political. I mean, you guys got to understand there are some people who are coaching that shouldn't be coaches. It is what it is, but they are coaches. And you got to decide, just like some of these kids are deciding. That's why some of them are transferring. There are some legitimate reasons. And even though you have some legitimate reasons to transfer, you really need to look, long and hard at that situation to see if it does make sense. Should you stay and fight it out and work it out? Communicate, start having better communication with that difficult person and being straight up and honest with them and telling them, man, or a coach, her, him, whoever it may be, you know, you're, if you have to go, it's always good to go in with somebody who's like-minded with you. Never go in somewhere talking to a coach and you don't have a witness. All right. About how that coach may come off or react to you going in respectfully, wanting to talk to them about your situation. Always have somebody can go in with you, because sometimes it'll either alleviate that coach, him or her, from going off a certain way and talking with some sense, or if they don't have any control of themselves and they are yelling or getting on you, or not being respectful. And that's why I always say to these coaches, you always want your athletes to have integrity, and you as a coach need to have that same integrity. You as a coach need to have open door communication, whether you like what their athlete is saying to you or not. You need to be respectful and professional at all times. You need to have a mindset of what's best for this athlete, whether they stay with me or not. Whether, you know, just like Nick Saban did, Jalen Hurts when he moved on from Alabama to go to Oklahoma. One thing I can say about Saint Nick, Coach Nick, you know, and I'm sure Hurst wasn't the only one he did this for. And I'm sure he's made some mistakes. He's not perfect, but I know when I watched that story, and Jalen even said out of his mouth how helpful Coach Saban was in helping him transfer, and it was a good move for him to transfer and go to Oklahoma because they had an offense and he got some coaching that Saban wasn't able to give him. But Saban helped him find a place that was going to help hone his skills. Now that's great. I'm sure there's some other coaches that will do the same thing, but I know there's some coaches who don't. And that's why we have some of these concerns with kids in the transfer portal, because you got grown men and grown women who's supposed to have a heart of taking care of that young person, your young person. And that's why you signed that scholarship, because they told you, mom, they told you, dad, they were going to take care of your child like it was their own child. And maybe they do raise their kids like that. It may not be great, or then again, it may be good for them. But some of these kids on that transfer portal, because as I said in the previous podcast, excuse me, I said in the previous podcast some months ago, do recruiters and coaches lie? Of course they do. Okay, of course they do. Even if they did, it doesn't mean they don't have your best interests. Okay, but they lied because they wanted you to come to that school, or they built up something to be better than what it really is, because they really feel like you have a skill set and they wanted you to come. So, they may have told you, hey, you got a chance to start in your freshman year, and you may not have really had a chance, but they still wanted you as an athlete there, even though you may not play much or at all your freshman year, but maybe down the line, they got plans for you. Okay. So just because they lied to get you there doesn't mean they don't have plans for you. All right. But you can't always be in your feelings, mom and dad and athlete, right? It still needs to be some communication going on. Okay. I had some communication, concerns, and had some with my son's coach. But ultimately, I get laid out things with my son, as I shared in the previous podcast. I gave him all the pros and cons about him not transferring and transferring. And then I said, okay, now it's up to you. If I felt like I needed to make that decision for him, I would have stepped in and would have done that. Okay. I didn't feel like I need to do that, because I felt like how I helped my son, both my sons, my wife and I, how we helped them develop and make some decisions on their own. Right. I felt comfortable enough that he knew what he wanted to do and was confident about his decision. Same thing with my youngest son. I knew, hey, he was confident, and he graduated, moved out to Seattle. Now he's relocated to Minnesota. I'm confident that because of how they were raised and how they were taught to look at some things, they're not perfect by no stretch of the imagination, and neither were my wife and I, but they made some great decisions. They made some good decisions for themselves. Right. And I wish I would have had some of that, because I should have transferred when I had the chance to leave Division II Morningside to go to K-State or some other place, which was my ultimate goal, was to go play a year or two. That's what my plan was to go play at Morningside for a year or two and play my freshman year and work hard and bust my butt and then maybe transfer to Iowa somewhere. That was my initial plan, that I wasn't going to stay Division two. But if I'd have had the opportunity like the kids do today, I probably would have taken it. But I didn't. I had lack of information, and I didn't want to put unnecessary due pressure on myself to pay for my education or my mom because I knew she didn't have the money. But there was ways that it could have still gotten done where I could have done, wouldn't have had to do that, right? Um, so so that's what I'm saying. Is your reputation or is your representation, young athlete? Be careful about running and chasing just for the bag, or be careful about, even though you feel like you have a legitimate reason to transfer because this coach, she's not treating you right or giving you fair chance, and they're so political. Yep, that is true in some cases. I'm not going to tell you, there's some people who are coaches that don't deserve to be coaches, and I'm telling you the truth, don't deserve to be coaches, right? But you got to figure out how to navigate and work through it. Sometimes you got to go have that heart-to-heart conversation with that coach, with her, with him, and tell them straight up about what you see going on. And not that you got any ill will towards them. You just want a fair handshake, a fair opportunity, right? Um, and so sometimes it takes you as an athlete, you got to step up for yourself, speak up for yourself. And if you've done that and you still see and you've given it an opportunity, you've done all you can to give an opportunity, but things are not being reciprocated. And like I said, there's some coaches out there that need Coach Smith Love the Game 24/7 coaching about how to be a good coach. Because I've been around and I've seen it. Trust me. I know I've been there. I know how hard it is. I know how tough it is, okay, to have to deal with that. And so you got to work through some stuff, okay? You got to have some good support, right? And like I said, if you don't know, find somebody that knows, like Coach Smith and Love the Game 24/7, or Derek Tatum with Elite Talent Football, or Before You Go Pro, right? Because a lot of us, we're coming from that personal experience, okay? And like I said, I'm bringing this personal experience, but I'm also bringing personal experience as an administrator in financial aid for 25 years that can tell you about the cost of education and what parents and students are getting themselves in a lot of debt. And and I've had a lot of people come across my desk where athletes who turned down scholarships because, oh, I just wanted to go to this school, but they're not getting. We're at that time right now where all these kids are trying to make decisions about where they want to go, but they got a lot of scholarship money from another school, but they want to come to our school, and we haven't given them a lot of money. My thing is, you need to go where the money is at, right? That's going to take pressure off you. You got to make a sacrifice. You may not be able to come to that school right now initially. Maybe you need to go there a year or two and then later transfer. That's always an option. But right now, initially, in the first couple of years, where you're taking mostly general courses and not courses in your major, I would go to that school that's giving me more assistance in scholarship money and grant money and less loan money that I have to borrow than trying to come to a school, where I'm not getting that much. To me, it's not a hard decision. Parents, you got to learn how not to get yourselves in some unnecessary debt and tell your young person, no, you're going to have to go here. What's your second or third best choice where most of the money is coming from right now because you had good academics? Because there are some schools like where I'm at, we don't have a huge endowment fund. So we don't have a lot of scholarship money. And so that's one thing that you want to look at when you're pursuing your education, whether it be for sports or not. Okay. But definitely, if you're not pursuing sports as a parent, you need to find out, okay, these schools that you like, let's look and see how large their endowment fund is. And you're going to know that by what kind of merit scholarship money they're going to offer when you get accepted to these schools. And you get that financial aid package sent to you. And to me, it's not a hard decision. Okay. But like I said, it doesn't mean you can't ever get to your dream school, but maybe you can't start there. Right. So that's what you guys got to look at. That's why you guys got to look at um, more than just one thing, okay? And when you get in this transfer portal, you better know for certain that you got some options, okay? And what kind of money they're giving you before you get yourself in that transfer portal, because you may just be going to a similar situation that you just left, right? And yeah, I understand some of you all are going for NIL, and that's cool, but you got to understand, for some of you guys or young ladies who may get an opportunity to go to the next level, they're looking at your representation, at how you represented yourself or your reputation. Is it your stamp of approval or is it your stamp of disapproval? right? Because some of you guys are jumping around. They're going to see if you have an opportunity to go at the next level, in your sport, that's going to come up as a concern, right? But if you're able to express about why you did what you did when you're getting looked at it at the pro level, the next level, whether you're male or female or Olympic team, whatever, if you get an opportunity to go to continue to play your sport beyond college, they're going to look at what your representation was like or how you represented yourself. Those things will come into play. They're going to, oh man, they hopped around, they were chasing the bag. You know, that's not all necessarily bad, but it can be looked at, that way in some cases. So you need to be ready and prepared that when they get you one-on-one and ask you, okay, why did you do this? What was going on, right? And so, but like I said, it irritates me. I know there's politics, there's things we have to deal with sometimes unnecessarily. We shouldn't have to, because if some of these coaches were straight up, okay, with um, with you about why you're not playing, or whatever the case may be. But you always got to be sure that your representation or your reputation of working hard, you put in work, right? Never, I mean, we can use Antonio Brown as an example just for his work ethic. We all know, if you know sports or if you know football, the issue with Antonio Brown that came up. But everybody said about Antonio Brown, you can never question his work ethic, his preparedness. And so because of that, it resulted in him putting up great numbers, and some teams were willing to tolerate it. But after a while, teams weren't willing to tolerate that stuff anymore, especially as you're getting older as an athlete. You got to understand how to continue to extend your time as long as possible. Tom Brady is a great example, right? There's many guys that are great examples. Darryl Green, right? Played into his 40s almost, right? So Antonio Brown is a good example of how not to be, even if you do have a representation or a reputation of being someone who always works hard and prepared. Because after a while, people will get tired of that other foolishness that goes on, and you don't want to be that type of person. Just cause you can ball out don't mean you can act a fool. Don't mean you can just say and do whatever you want, and you shouldn't. Be respectful of your teammates and the organization. You know, that is very important. Be yourself. Nobody's telling you not to be yourself, but be respectful. If you want respect, you got to first show respect. Right? Always be respectful. Like I said, nobody can ever question Antonio Brown's work ethic and his preparedness to be great on the field. But take that same energy, take that same effort, right? Stand on business, whether you on or off the field, with being professional and respectful, because you got family, you got other people you're representing, you got kids possibly that may be coming up behind you, that you don't need them to have to carry that, on them. You know, O.J. Simpson, man, I mean, I looked up to him. I know all those years, man. I mean, he was a great example to follow, from moving on from playing a sport and transitioning into other careers, right? Nobody could ever question that about OJ until, right? Until. So you got to start our people young and making great, good decisions, folks, parents, coaches. Coaches, you're going to be held just as responsible like a parent, because you are a person in position of authority who can make decisions, who can make and break people's careers or livelihoods. And it's on your head, coach, young lady, young man, coaches. It's on you. Me, even when I was a coach, right? I did everything I could to make sure I spoke and respected to young people. I could always, if I saw one of my athletes acting up, and I would go and confront them and have to pull them to the side because they're doing something crazy, and they want to get an attitude. The first thing I always tell them, or I would always say to them in their ear, "Has coach ever disrespected you?" No, coach. They could always say, "No, coach, you're not like." Okay, so right now, while I'm trying to talk to you and calm you down, remember how I've always treated you as a person. And I could get them to calm down and listen, because I was always respectful. A lot of the coaches that I coached with, I always held on that, my reputation, or how I represented myself to my athletes. when things would happen, even to parents. Have you ever known me to lie to you as a coach? Have you ever known me not to come correct with you, come straight with you, tell you the truth? That's how I wanted my reputation as a coach because of what I saw. I don't want to be like some things I saw. And there were some coaches I saw that did great things, and that's who I want to be like. And I always would tell my young people when I would have to deal with them if they got an attitude or mad about something, I could pull them to the side. I could calm them down because I can say, hey, has coach ever been disrespectful to you? Right? So don't be disrespectful to coach when I'm trying to talk to you and trying to teach you and coach you on how to deal with whatever it is you're dealing with, whatever it is that you're mad or frustrated about. Because you know coach is going to come to you correct. I'm going to come to you straight. So don't disrespect me when I'm trying to talk to you, because I've never disrespected you as a young person. And that would be the first thing I would say to them. And because I could say that to them, I could get them to calm down and listen. When they were ready to calm down and listen, I can get them to listen. Sometimes I knew, hey, you just go over there and cool off for a minute, and I'll come and I'll talk to you later. But just cool, listen to what I'm telling you right now. Stop whatever you're doing. It's gonna hurt you, and go calm down, right? Because I could always say, has coach ever lied to you? Has coach ever disrespected you? And they could always say, no, coach, no, you never. Okay, so why would I do that now? So listen to what I'm telling you right now. Go over there and cool off. Go to the locker room. I know you're upset, and sometimes I tell them you got a legitimate reason, but just because you got a legitimate reason don't mean you act like a fool. Don't mean you carry. You got to remember you got a reputation to protect, right? You got to represent yourself a certain way so we can get this thing resolved. Okay, and so I hope this helps. So parents, get your kids in these summer camps while they're young, right? Because some of them may sit in the back of the line and not be aggressive in getting themselves reps. Because you young athletes got to remember your parents are putting out money. You don't want to waste their money. Okay, so be sure for you older guys, get your reps in. Don't let guys push you in line out of line, and don't all be respectful, but don't be afraid to speak up for yourself and tell another athlete, no, I'm getting my reps just like you getting yours. Right, I'm talking to you, young lady athlete, young man athlete. Don't be afraid to step up for yourself and I don't care who you are, black, brown, white, purple, yellow, red. You make sure. You let them know I'm getting my reps. I paid my money just like you paid your money. Right? My mom and daddy put out money just like your mom and daddy put out money. I'm gonna get my reps just like you gonna get your reps. So don't keep jumping in front of the line. I'm gonna get mine, especially for you older kids. We don't need to fight about anything. You just need to just tell the kid straight up, and you need to let the coach know, hey, this guy's going up certain amount of times. I need to make sure I'm getting my reps because I need y'all to see me as well because I'm just as good, if not better. Okay, don't be afraid to speak up for yourself. But how we can alleviate that? Get them kids in there when they're young, in middle school, like I did with my son. To help him get out of that shell and having them conversations with him. So as he got older, I didn't have to have those conversations as he got older. And he was balling and putting in work. I didn't have to have those conversations because when people saw it, and as he got bigger and stronger and better, and playing ball, winning games, and people knowing what school he came from and the reputation of the school and how he represented and what his reputation was, he was getting those reps. So let's start young and also get him in those summer camps to help them with their academics, right? To help prepare them. So by the time they get to high school, there ain't no issues. Okay. And if we have to continue to get help while they're in high school, let's continue to do that as well. But as I said, I want to give a little brief moment. This is why I said what you just got today is why I know my followings on YouTube, my subscriptions, my followings, my videos should be watched a whole heck of a lot more than what they are. I'm picking up a lot of groundwork. Okay. But you guys got to understand, Coach Smith and Love the Game 24/7, ain't nobody bringing it like that, like I'm bringing it. I'm just being real with you. Like I said, I'm bringing it from an athletic perspective, but I'm also bringing it from a college administrator perspective with 25 years in financial aid. Okay. And I give out great information on how you need to go about getting your young person positioned to earn some money, right? To help pay and supplement their education. So it's less coming out of your pocket and it's less debt that you have to get yourselves in with student loans. I also would tell you though, there is a need for student loans. Okay. Don't get it twisted. There is a need for it. All right. But we don't have to borrow as much as we need to sometimes, or we should be borrowing. Okay. Now you can borrow some of that money and put it to some good use, you know, if you so choose. But I'm just letting you know, if you got a young person out there that love sports, love band and dance and cheer, gymnastics, all those things, get them going early, get them some coaching, get yourself some coaching with Love the Game 24/7 with Coach Smith to help you. Like I said, like Biggie Smalls said, if you know, now you know, right? And I just told you, here I am. Love the 24/7 game at gmail.com. Send me an email. DM me on love the game 24_7 on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. Follow, subscribe. There's no reason why I should have thousands of followers with this information that I'm dropping every Saturday morning and Wednesday night. Get the word out to your family members who have young people, your friends, your neighbors. There's no excuse that you shouldn't be trying to help as many people as possible, right? Because there's walls that may not necessarily need to be broken down because you are helping others like you want to be helped. We can build a ladder, and then whoever gets over that ladder, don't forget where you came from. Come back and help those people who helped you. And that's what I'm doing with Love the Game 24/7. That's what it's all about, right? So sometimes it ain't meant to be to break down a wall. It may mean, hey, we just need to climb over it because we've helped somebody, right? Get to where they want to be, right? And I want somebody to help me to get my young person where they want to be. So let's help each other, right? Let's help each other, and never forget where you came from. But I know my following should be much more bigger than they are, and I hope they are, and I hope you guys subscribe and listen. You know, I'm just telling you, it's always about trying to help somebody else. Make sure you have a good representation or, or reputation, and let it be your stamp of approval and not disapproval, right? you know, and just like a little short example, I remember when I was playing this professional spring football, Bobby McAllister and Lorenzo, he played with Lorenzo White at Michigan State. I remember he was a quarterback at the PSFL, the Miami Tribe team I was with, and 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 I told as many friends as possible to get lined up with this pro spring football because some of my guys that I grew up with, that I knew had the ability to play at the next level, trying to stay active and get that opportunity to get to the NFL to the next level. I was telling as many of my buddies as possible, and they got in and got the opportunity to play. And I remember when I was at the Miami Tribe and trying to, come from the bottom of the running back um, list, to move up, and I did eventually. And I just remember Bobby McAllister was coming out of meeting with the head coach and the offensive coordinator, and I just happened to be going to get a snack and get some ice with me and my roommate, and happened to run into him coming out of the meeting, and I remember him seeing me, and he was telling me, he's like, "Hey, Smitty, man, you're doing a good job, boy." He's like, "Man, I know I appreciate you. I can always look for you and check down, and you get me out of a hassle when I can't find somebody downfield." He's like, "Man, I appreciate how you helping me look good." And he's like, "Man, you looking good. They high on you. Keep doing what you're doing." I always tell him, myself about how much I appreciate him as a running back. Um, he was helping me out, and he gave me some good insight right when he was coming out of a meeting, out of that a hotel room with the head coach and the offensive coordinator. And it was just, I don't think it was happenstance. I think it was just a God moment that he just helped me, give me some confidence and encourage me, and he was helping me out. And I remember him sharing that information and just say, "Hey, look, man, just keep doing what you're doing." They recognize, he's like, "Your name has been coming up a lot," and they recognize, like where this kid from. And I remember my running back coach on that team. He had coached running backs at University of Colorado during the time I was in high school, and he was like, "Man, how did I miss you coming out of high school in Florida?" Because when I was there with the PSFL team, he was like, "Man, you block well, you run well, you catch the ball well, you know your plays." And he was just like, "Man, how did you end up at Morningside College Division II and not Division I?" You know, um, and so I appreciated that, and that helped build my confidence, knowing that, hey, I was doing the right thing, and helping, not just help myself, but helping, like Bobby McAllister. Like I said, he was a quarterback at Michigan State back in the day with Lorenzo White, and I just remember and appreciated him, build up my confidence. I was fresh out of college, and had a few NFL opportunity tryouts. My first year coming out of college, but I didn't get anywhere, and so I was using this PSFL to try to get myself an opportunity. Um, and I just appreciated that that guy, man, Bobby McAllister, just sharing that with me and encouraging me to, hey, not to, um, look down because I'm from a Division II school that I can't make this team, and he's like, man, they've been really high on you and talking about you. And so, man, he just helped me take my game to another level when he shared that to help me out and give me confidence. And I end up coming from being like the fourth or fifth running back to the starting running back. And my roommate, who was happened to be from Miami, I can't think of Vincent's last name. He was an Italian brother, good brother. And he was from Fort Lauderdale and played at UTEP, Texas El Paso. And he and I made a pact together, man, that we were going to do everything we could to help each other. Right. He and I said that, like, hey, man, we got to help each other make this team. And he and I both moved up, you know, and he was an awesome fullback, catch the ball, heck of a blocker. He would tell me, hey, Smitty, man, when I turn my butt this way, you cut this way. If I turn my butt this way, you cut that way. He said, but I'm going to make this block, and he and I were roommates, man. And I just appreciate having those opportunities of people, helping me, right? And being in a position to be able to help my teammates. And so that's what it's all about, man. Who can you help? And that's why I know this YouTube um, channel that I have, Love the Game 24_7, should have many more followers than I have with getting this information. My YouTube, Love the Game 24_7, should be bigger and better as well. It's not all about giving out bad information, or content that's always negative stuff that seems to blow up a lot of times. But just like I was willing to put in work to get my scholarship and get myself an opportunity to play at the next level, I know I got to put my work in on this coaching, this live coaching, and all these different things that I, hey, you got to put your time in. I'm all for it. And I'm willing to put my time in. But I know the information that you're getting is some of the best anybody could give you. I know that fact because I lived it. I've been through it. I coached some kids through it, coached my son through it. He's playing at the next level in the NFL going on 6 years, right? And there's other kids that I've helped and I still speak into their lives. I got some people who are partnered with me now getting coached on getting themselves to the next level in college and getting some scholarships because like I said, there's some parents, you didn't play sports. You didn't have an opportunity. You don't have a clue. Some of you all did play some sports and you still need some help in today's environment with NIL and the transfer portal, right? And how Division II has become the new Division I, and how you should use that as an opportunity still to possibly get you at the Division I level if you're that good. If you're that good of a female or male athlete and you have to go this route, as long as you get to where you want to be ultimately, everybody's road, or path is not going to be the same, but you can still get there. Okay. There's some things you just may have to do, but you can still get there. Right. And that's what Love the Game 24/7 is all about. How can we help somebody who wants to get to where I want to be or where I've been? Right. Like I said, there's some barriers. We don't need to tear it down. We need to build a ladder and go over it and then come back and help those ones or come back with the right equipment to tear that barrier down so everybody who you've helped can get through it. Okay. So that's what it's about sometimes. So that's a method sometimes that we have to take. Okay. And just because something is delayed doesn't mean it won't happen. Right. But there are some things that if you take what I'm saying, that you can avoid or alleviate from having to deal with some stress or frustration. However, there are some things that you need to go through, and you need somebody to help coach you through it and help you understand, right, how to deal with it, how to communicate dealing with a difficult coach, right? Because like I said, there are a lot of people who get positions who really shouldn't or don't deserve to be in those positions because they're not handling that position like they should, as well as they should in helping people. That's why I say you coaches, you're in a position, you're going to be held highly accountable for those you helped or didn't help. And you can't be biased. You got to be willing to help everybody. Okay? No matter what level of skill they have, you got to be willing to help them. And then it's on you, young athlete, right, to make it happen. You have a part to play. Everything can't be given to you. You got to put in the work, sacrifice. Okay? And sometimes there's some things that it's good for you to go through to help build your confidence and build your character. Okay? And so just because you have this person in front of you, don't mean you can't tear down that barrier or get over that barrier. Okay. Um, but like I said, this is what Love the Game 24/7 is all about. You know, what what is your representation or your reputation, right? Is it your stamp of approval or is it your stamp of disapproval? Okay. And you need to have it be your stamp of approval. So that's why you have to get some coaching. You have to be smart. You have to get some wisdom. You have to learn from some other people who've been there. You got to be willing to listen. You got to be willing to communicate, get some understanding so you can know how to navigate through this stuff. And not just as an athlete, but you parents as well. Okay. Focus on what your young person needs to work on. Help some other people while you're on the way, right? And trying to help get your young person where you feel they should be. But you also got to be honest with yourselves too, parents. Okay. There's a lot of competition out there. I tell people all the time in financial aid when they try to get these merit scholarships, there's a lot of kids with 4.0s, 4.5s, a lot of kids, very competitive, right? And a lot of times it comes down to how well did you write that essay? How well was your writing skills to explain your story that you want to have one day? And I'm telling you, I used to put on a conference, college bound conference, to help parents and athletes understand that. And we had admissions directors and advisors on panel would come and tell parents that exactly that we got a lot of people that have 4.5s and 5.0s and all this stuff from getting college credit, all that stuff. And sometimes they said more than anything, it came down to how well did that student writing, how well were your writing skills in telling your story or your journey or what your goal or dream is to become or do with getting once you got your degree from this school. They they shared that in the conference. So a lot of times kids may have a great GPA, but their writing skill wasn't that great, and they didn't do a real good job in their essay writing explaining what their dream or goal was and what they wanted to achieve. Or it came down to their volunteerism. They didn't really have good volunteerism. They were all focused on the academics, which is great, but these schools, they want a whole person. They want to see how much are you willing to help others, right? Not forgetting where you come from, helping others, right? Can't all be about you. How much did you go back into your community and give back? That's important. And when you can put that on your admissions application, and when you can put that in, put that down, and explain it well with your writing skills, your story, and your dreams and your goals. Sometimes that's what it came down to. What it came down to as far as you being accepted to some schools because your writing skill wasn't as good, or you didn't share um, a very touching story of how you've given back and your volunteerism. So think about that. I just dropped another nugget, diamond nugget on you, or gold nugget on you, free. Okay. But yeah, I love to have you be a part of Love the Game 24/7 family. So once again, love the 24/7 game at gmail.com. You can email me there. You can DM me on love the game 24_7 on IG, right? Follow me on Facebook or YouTube, subscribe, because I know my following should be a whole lot better with this information I'm giving people right now that you don't get too many other places. They just talk sports strictly. I'm talking sports and I'm talking how to get that money, other ways to get that money for helping supplement your child's education. And nobody's giving you that. But Love the Game 24/7 because I got 25 years, right? I'm ain't gonna tell my age, but I've been around the game of sports, football and track and all that stuff since 7th grade. So I know what time it is. So if you want to get some solid, good information and a foundation to help you build with your young person and parents on how to supplement your child's education where not a whole lot is coming out of your pocket, then you need to get with Love the Game 24/7 and Coach Smith. Well, that's all I have this morning. I appreciate you joining me live or you listen to this recording, but get my followers up, folks. Just like Club Shay Shay and them share, they got great stuff, and I follow them and love listening to their podcast. But you should be loving to hear my podcast if you got a young person, boy or girl, that loves sports. I don't care if it's lacrosse, soccer. I don't care if it's cricket. because sometimes I'll watch cricket. That's another game that I'm learning to watch and enjoy. I'm trying to learn watching it. So I don't care what it is. Hockey, doesn't matter. Recruiting is recruiting to get these college athletic scholarships. And you need somebody like Love the Game 24/7. So I appreciate you guys spreading the word and getting it out there. And so I look forward to seeing my followers and my subscriptions really taking off and jumping. And it's all because of you guys realizing that, hey, this information that Coach Smith be dropping, man, about scholarships and about how to supplement my child's education, man, I'm getting this like no other from nobody else. And I'm going to make sure I share it with other people that have children and have nieces and nephews, grandkids, whatever at that age that love the game 24/7 and need some help on and knowledge on how to get that money, get that free money to help pay for that education, to help better their lives and your lives. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Until Wednesday evening, hopefully I may be able. I'm not sure if I'm going to make this Wednesday evening. I may go Tuesday evening or Thursday, but I'm going to be traveling to Sioux City, Iowa, with my buddy Coach Stephon Pearson at West High School in Sioux City. I'm going to be speaking to his athletes there to help give them this information and how they can partner with Love the Game 24/7 and get some coaching for them to help their kids get scholarships. So that's what I'll be traveling on Wednesday, I think Wednesday night or Thursday morning. So I may not be able to do my show on Wednesday. But definitely I will be doing some videos, some pictures. I may go live while I'm out there as well. So be on the lookout for Coach Smith back in my stomping grounds at Morningside College in Sioux City, Iowa, with Coach Stephon Pearson for Sioux City West High School. All right, guys. Love you and have a great weekend.